Good afternoon, my brothers and sisters in Christ. Today is July 30th, 2018, and I'm making this video to tell you about my testimony, my personal testimony, and how Jesus saved me. I just want to give you, I'm sorry, I'm going to touch the camera. I don't know if you could see that, but I think it's water stains on there or something that I got on there by accident. It's bugging me. Want to give you a little bit of background about me and my growing up. I come from Mexican parents from Mexico that came here to the U.S. I was born here. I was raised Catholic, but the way the Lord was presented to me is like a mean hall monitor that is just out to get you, watching your every move. I did go to church when I was little, but again, it was at Catholic Mass. So aside from the stories that they teach the children, like Noah's Ark and the birth of Christ, my knowledge was not vast, like reading the Bible when you actually read it and study it and see what it has to say about anything and everything. I grew up, and before I tell you this, I just want you guys to know that I know it's no one's fault. I understand now that this world is a broken world, and that's why people are sinners. That being said, I forgive everyone, whether it's my dad or my mom or my sister or a stranger or whoever has ever done me wrong. That being said, I grew up in a very abusive home. My dad was a drunk. He was a womanizer. He would cheat on my mom. He would beat her in front of us kids. I was the oldest, so I saw more of it than the rest of than my sister did, I should say. I have two more brothers, but they have a different dad. But I saw a lot of that growing up. So growing up, the mentality and what I got out of that is if someone hurts you, you hurt them back. If someone hits you, you hit them back. You get revenge. I was coming up the wrong way, but now looking back, I realized that the Lord was with me the entire time, saving me from different things, whether it was getting shot or getting beat up or dying on the freeway. I can see his hand in every aspect of my life, even before he saved me at the age of 28, when I gave my life to him, when I decided for myself, which is what we have to do, not being baptized when you're a baby or anything like that. It's a personal decision that you have to make, that you're going to accept Christ and that you're going to surrender your life to him and live for him. That being said, by the time I was 17, I moved out actually the summer before my senior year of high school. By then, my mom was no longer with my dad, but she left him when I was 10, but she had a few different boyfriends that were also just as abusive, whether it was mental or physical abuse, never sexual, thank God. But regardless, abuse is abuse, and it leaves you scars that no one can see, but only you know that they're there, whether they're mental or emotional. My stepdad, and since I've forgiven him, and even though him and my mom are not together anymore, he has gotten saved by the Lord too. He was a mean alcoholic, so that's why I moved out my senior year before high school, and I actually signed up for the military, the Army, in December of 1997. So I left 3 weeks after I graduated high school. I took off over there. When I got to my permanent duty station, which was about December of 98, Germany, I still carried that with me. And I had, I'll say this, racism is alive and well, especially in the military. I had a lot of, especially females, that did not like um, for no reason at all, honestly. And again, I forgive them, but it just goes to show you that evil is not just in your house, it's not just in school, it's not just at work. I mean, it is prevailing in every area of the world, even halfway around the world. My idea was escaping my home life, escaping that hateful, uh, abusive lifestyle, and I just go do a different version of it. But I did have fun. I'm not going to say, at least I didn't live with these girls. That's nice. I lived in the same hallway as them, but not in the same room. Anyway, my point of all this is when I was about, I don't know, maybe 18 and a half, 19, I still felt like I carried that with me. When I left to the military, I just had such a hate for my mom because I felt like, how could she let me and my sister live like this? How could she not do something? Even though she left my dad, she got with these guys that were just as abusive. And I thought to myself, why does she care more about getting with guys? Because she did. And now she understands that it's a sin. Now God is working in her life. But back then, she only really cared about herself and wanted to have fun because she never got to do that as a teenager. So she was living out her teenage years that she had never gotten to experience. I really hated her for that, and then I hated my stepdad for the way he was, and I hated my dad for everything he put us through. And one day, now I know it was God, I came to the conclusion that I have to forgive them. And it's not because they deserve me forgiving them. The forgiveness is for me. It's so I don't feel like I'm carrying that burden, because that's what it felt like I was just carrying a ton of bricks. And as soon as I did that, I felt free. But still, I mean, I was 18. I wasn't walking with the Lord yet. I did try going back to church, but when I went to church, it was like all the people that were mean to me at work, whether they were my age or older than me, the first sergeant or E6 sergeants, I knew they were cheating on their husbands, their wives. They were just mean. And I know, the military is strict and there's more discipline there, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people that are just mean for sport. They're just mean to you like bullies just because they know they can be. So I went a few times and then I stopped going because I said, I'm not going to church with these people that, 5-6 days a week, they're making my life hell. They're cheating on their husbands or wives, and they're doing all this stuff. I mean, I would see them at the club cheating on their husbands and wives and just doing all kinds of things. I said, I'm not going to go to church with these people, but I never stopped believing. I'll say that much. Ever since I was a kid, I would always pray. I always knew that God did exist. So, that being said, I'm not perfect. I was living in the world back then up until I was 28. I was partying, going to the club. I didn't, what you would call in this world, sleep around, but to God, sleeping with someone who's not your husband is sleeping around. If I was in a relationship, I was sleeping with my boyfriend. I was, you know, sometimes I didn't drink that much, but I did get drunk on quite a few occasions. I got into fights. I smoked a lot of weed. That is one thing I liked. I liked gangster rap. I liked slapstick comedy movies, like The 40-Year-Old Virgin. I just cared about looking good and having cool shoes and just things that don't matter. Now I see how much money and just what a waste of time it was. I never had peace. Whatever I was looking for, whether it was in fashion or in a relationship or in a promotion, whether it be just rank or more money, you think, if I get this, then I'll be happy. Or if I do that, then I'll be happy. If this guy thinks I'm cute, then I'll be happy. But no, no. There's always something. There's like a hole, that nothing, a void in you that only the Lord can fill. And I know that now, and I thank God for that. So fast forward, that was pretty much my life until I was about 28. And that's when I graduated from college and got my first job that paid really well in my eyes. I was making anywhere between 60 to 80,000 a year working for Chase. Uh, we called it, as a joke, a non-modification department, because they weren't modifying anyone's loans. They were just honestly just sticking it to people. I worked there for about a year and a half, worked 6 days a week. So even though I was making money, and I had, out of all the places I've ever lived, it was the nicest place I've ever lived in, which was in Rancho Bernardo, San Diego. It's a suburb of San Diego. I lived on top of a hill. It was so beautiful. When I sat on my porch, I could see not only the ocean from there, but I could see Idlewild and Big Bear in Southern California. And if you know how far that is from San Diego, I mean, that's how high up there I was. That's like, I don't know, at least a good 80 miles that you could see from one county to another. That is a lot more inland. So it's quite an accomplishment, I guess you could say. It's just something amazing. I love God and his creation. It's so beautiful. I'm just in awe of it all the time. Anyway, working there, it was working for banks, people, let me tell you, it is like working for the devil. I really got an inside view of how demented and just crazy, and I don't mean that it is a good, funny crazy. I mean like just selfish and self-centered and no love whatsoever, no compassion for your fellow mankind mentality these banks have. On quite a few occasions, I heard the managers talking about people and their home loans, and when the holidays would come around, basically they would tell us that when we would get those calls to, people, of course they're going to be crying and trying to give us, trying to, my kids, and Thanksgiving's coming up and Christmas, and I need the money for presents and turkey and all this stuff. Basically, the managers told us, that they could give a flip, that we now had to get twice as much money, and twice as much money was like, if they owed 4,000, they needed to come up with 8, so the bank would not foreclose on them. They really didn't care that we are to tell them, do you want a roof over your head during the holidays, or do you want presents? Because you could have your presents outside in an alley somewhere. I mean, that was their mentality. I had a lot of calls like that, and I was a bilingual rep. I would mostly take Spanish calls. So for people that are bilingual, that, when you work somewhere in whatever language you may speak, it could be Mandarin, it could be, Cantonese, whatever, that when your own people that don't speak the language, that don't speak English, and they finally find that person that speaks their language. I mean, I had men crying. I remember this Mexican man crying, saying, he saved up money, I think, for 10 or 15 years, him and his wife, so they could buy their a home for their kids and their family. And if they were to lose this home, they would have nowhere to go. That they put, just they poured all their blood and sweat into coming up with this money for the down payment. Now the bank wanted to foreclose on them. And there was just so many instances like that where I heard these sad stories, and the one that broke the straw that broke the camel's back was actually this. Um, well, I don't know. I didn't see her, but I think she was a white lady. Young lady, I could tell. I got the call and she was sobbing. I mean, she was crying so hard I could not understand what she was saying. She lived out here in Marietta, which is the county where I live in Riverside, and she told me that she had spoken to a rep, I think 1 or 2 weeks prior, and that rep sat about 1 or 2 rows from me. That rep promised her, I think she had to come up with $30,000, somewhere in that area, to keep her house. And she did. She borrowed money from her family and whatever she had, and she sent it in, and this rep did not take the proper steps to put that foreclosure on hold. And they foreclosed on her anyway, so I had to send the email to my manager. And long story short, my manager was nice, but she was not the one with the say, so she had to send it to her boss, which was not a very nice lady. And that lady basically said that she didn't care, that was our money, and that was that. I mean, very just like whatever, very cold-blooded. And again, I was there, I think, for about 1.5 years. And, I wasn't the only rep that hated it there, but it was something that was eating away at my soul. I didn't like working there no more. I realized that the 10 years it took me to go to college to get a stupid degree in business. I'm sorry if I'm offending anyone that might work in business as a manager or administrator or whatever. If you like it, that's great. It worked out for you. I'm happy for you. It didn't work out for me. In the corporate world, you really have to have no soul to get promoted. You cannot care. You need to step on people, on anyone, even if it's your grandma, to get promoted and to live the lifestyle, to reach that pinnacle in the corporate world. So I just felt it really, now I know it was the Lord, and it was just pulling on my soul. It was really taking its toll on me, to the point where I was contemplating suicide. And that's the next thing I'll get to. I felt that if I didn't get out of that job and find something else to do, that I'd just rather die. And also, I knew in my heart that when Judgment Day were to come, I would have a lot of explaining to do. I wasn't born again. And what was I going to do, when God, of course, he's going to sit there and let us see all the bad things we've done. And what am I going to say when he says, you foreclosed on my child's home and they begged you not to? What was I going to say? Oh, Lord, I was just doing my job. That's not going to fly. So after deliberating, and then I spoke to my mom, because she's really the only one I have that ever helps me out in anything. She agreed. She had a little room that she wasn't using in her home. And when I say little, I mean, you don't even know how little. She said I could put my stuff in storage, and because I told her I didn't know what I was going to do, but I just couldn't do banking anymore. I had to find something else to do to, earn a living. She said she agreed that I could come back home. So I did that. I came back home, but when I came back, the only jobs I could really find was like in banking, still, unfortunately. I had a part-time job at San Bernardino where I worked, I think, 5 to 10 in the morning. And then I would come home and do modifications from home for a realtor. Uh, so it was the same thing, really, you know. I still was not happy. And that's when I started contemplating suicide. And just so you know, I have back spasms, so there's a muscle relaxers that I take, so that was my plan. My plan was to take a whole bottle of muscle relaxers to kill myself at night when sleeping, but what I did was I got all my ducks in a row, and by that I mean I put the title in the title to my car in my mom's name. Every little thing I had, I put her on there. That way she would get it, which wasn't much, but it was, you know, that was my plan. That's what I did. And then every night for about a month, I said that I was going to do it. Tonight's the night that I'm going to do it. And I couldn't help, and I know it was God now. I couldn't help but having this image in my head where my mom was just bawling, crying over my dead body. I knew that that would hurt her. I know my mom, you know, she's such a sweet lady. And, you know, she's not perfect, but I love my mom. We have a very close relationship. So finally I got to the point one night where I just started crying. I started crying and crying and crying like I have never cried before. And I knew in my soul that if I were to commit suicide, I was going to go straight to hell. Why? Because I wasn't saved. I knew that much. Even though I was brought up Catholic and I was baptized as a baby, that's not how you give your life to the Lord. I knew by then because I had a friend who was Christian, and she had told me that it's a personal choice. It's something you have to decide when you become of age, when you understand what's going on. And for years she had shared the word of the Lord with me and had invited me to church. I don't remember if I went with her or not. I had a few Christians, you know, that God put in my path, but I wasn't ready. You know, I just wanted to do my own thing. And anyway, I just cried and cried and cried and cried and cried. And again, I knew if I were to commit suicide that night that I would go straight to hell. And that terrified me. So when I was crying, I just got down. I don't remember if I was face first on my bed. I think actually I was on the ground, just bawling. And I cried out to the Lord, and I told him that I was ready to give him my life, but that I hated my job, and that's something that absolutely needed to change. I didn't want to do banking, and I did not know what was going to happen, but that I wanted something else, something different, something where I felt that it would be noble, where I could sleep at night, and that I would love doing. I never really had a job in my entire life that I loved. The only part I loved about the military was traveling. I did get to see the world. Sorry, it's hot. Aside from that, I never really had a job that I could say I absolutely love, and that's what I wanted most. I just wanted to be happy. So that night when I told him that, I felt something happen. I know something supernatural happened. It was like something was just lifted, like something was changed in my soul. I knew then that I was going to give my life to him, and I wanted to learn the Bible and understand it. So my first thing I set out to do was to find someone or persons to have Bible study with, and I found that this older couple, I did Bible study with them for about 2 years. And what I did throughout those 2 years is, because what happened is I tried going to church, but I did not understand most of what they were talking about. And I just felt like it was kind of a waste of time, and it was, how do I say this? It was a, gosh, I have such a big brain fart right now. A disservice to the Lord, because in order for me to understand, I needed to know what was in here. What was in this lovely book. I love my Bible. If you could read it. It's a bilingual one. The only thing I don't like about this is that because it's bilingual and, you know, half the pages in English, the other ones in Spanish, the letters are teeny tiny. And I have to wear my reading glasses. I don't mind wearing reading glasses, but, you know, it's just hard on my eyes. I wish I tried finding a Bible with bigger print, but for the ones that are in 2 languages, that's as good as it gets. They don't have them in big print. So anyway, I did Bible study with them for 2 years, and what I would do is every 6 months I would go to church to see how far along I was, to see if I was finally understanding. And it wasn't about till the 2-year mark that I felt comfortable enough to go to church, because I was, you know, I had read enough of the Bible. And also what I want to add to that is, every time, even in the past before that, when I would try to read the Bible, of course, I would start in Genesis. Now, if there's people that have done that and you understood it, great. But it didn't work for me. It really discouraged me, because I would get through, you know, a few pages and between the names of the people and the names of the places, because it is the Old Testament, it's a little bit harder to follow, or it was in my case, so I wouldn't get anywhere. So what I did, or what I was recommended, was, since I did not know the Bible like that, to help myself, I could read also a children's Bible, but also read the regular adult Bible, but start reading it from the New Testament. Read the New Testament first, and then the Old Testament. And that's what I did. I set a goal of reading, I think it was 4 pages a night. It took me, I think, 8 months or so to read the Old Testament. And that's what I did. Now, present day, it's been about 10 years that I gave my life to the Lord. And since then, I can't tell you all the miracles He's done, how He's changed me, how He continues to change me, all the blessings that I have received. And, you know, I'm not rich. I just am a faithful follower in Christ. Try to be as faithful as I can be, as I know to be. Try to listen to that little voice telling me what to do or what not to do, what to, you know, stay away from. He gave me this house free and clear. You know, He's my mechanic. Even little things like, I think the day before yesterday, I was doing something outside and I got a big old splinter that really hurt. Okay, and I remember peeling my skin back to get that sucker out, because it was big and painful. And about 5 or 10 minutes later, I don't know what I was doing, and I started looking at my hands. I couldn't even see it anymore. And when I say peel back, I mean it was a chunk. Okay, it was like the air, as soon as it would hit it, it would sting me. He does little things like that where I'm like, whoa, where did that go? He supernaturally heals and fixes things around here, on my car, my house, sends people to me. You know, I have issues with my back, and I do believe that I'm healed, but unfortunately, when I was in the Army, I took a really bad fall on my tailbone, and, you know, I'm older now. It's been about 19 years or so since that happened, so unfortunately, you know, it is more painful now, and my condition is worse. I don't feel like cooking as much and just doing stuff like before. I can't run anymore. I used to be very physical, uh, like to work out, just very physically demanding things, and I can't do none of that anymore. But the Lord is good. I don't um what's the word? I don't um I don't dwell in that. My life, I can't tell you the supernatural peace I feel in my mind, body, and soul. Uh, he's giving me new friends that believe in the Lord, because I didn't want to hang out after a while with the people I used to run with. As far as my love life goes, I don't have one. I have made a pact with the Lord. I mean, I obviously don't know how to pick them. They're men who are living in the world, and they're having sex with everyone or doing drugs. They don't love, they're not faithful. I made a pact with the Lord that he's going to have to bring me someone and basically spell it out for me as to who he wants me to marry. I don't want to play games. I don't want no one to use me. I don't want to use anyone. The next one, if that happens, is going to be my husband. Other than that, I could care less. I'm not out there looking. I'm not, I'm happy. I'm content. I work from home now. It's another thing I wanted to tell you guys. The Lord did open a new door for me as far as my career was concerned. I'm an interpreter for medical and legal. I get to do it from the comfort of my home office, which is awesome because I get to work my own schedule. I can't tell you how good the Lord is. And again, I'm not rich, but I'm happy. The Lord says to be content with what you have, and I may not have much, but you know what? What I have, if I ever have a husband, I will share it with him. I have good neighbors. I live, we have our little bad seeds here and there, but I live in a pretty, for the most part, nice. There's a lot of retirees where I live, so that's what I like about it. It's quiet. My neighbors are nice. They bring me a plate of food. When I make food, I give them some. I love to garden, and when I say garden, I'm not the one getting down there planting the plants. I let my brother do that, but I always have fresh bouquets. I love sitting out there. I water it. I have 2 cats, and they love being out there, enjoying the garden. And I really like it. My mom lives in the same neighborhood. I have her near me. And now that I look back on what I was thinking about doing, contemplating suicide, I think, how stupid was I? What was I even thinking? I kind of laugh at myself because it was so dumb. Now that I have the Lord in my life, everything's so much different, so much better. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I don't go through things, because I do, whether it's with, my finances or a person, but it's so much better to have the Lord by your side and to have this to read every single night. It feeds you. It gives you something that the world will never, ever give you. Something spiritual and supernatural. As a matter of fact, just so you know, right now I actually am going through something. My car, I don't know what's going to happen. I take care of my car, and the other day it didn't want to start. It would crank and everything, but it just wasn't making that connection where it would start. Long story short, it has something to do with the chip and the computerized part, that when you stick the key in there, because the newer cars have like computers in them, So the computer part of the ignition is not working. My car is older. It's 16 years old. It's nice. I mean, I keep it clean and everything. You can't, no one, they always tell me they think it's a new car, but it's not. Anyway, long story short, I don't know what's going to happen. You know, if it's not worth fixing, maybe I'll just get rid of it, and it's going to take me a while to save up money to get a new one. But you know what? The Lord already knew this was going to happen to me, and I'm just so glad He's in my life. I am so glad, and you know, it's things like this that I'm not going to allow the devil or whatever is going on in the world to break that connection that I have with my godly Father. You know, I do believe that we are living truly in the last days, because I posted dreams about that as well. And, you know, I mean, in 5 minutes I could be in heaven. You know, whoever believes in Him, we can all be in heaven. So that stuff's not going to matter anyway. The things that we have here on this earth, what we see with our eyes, what we can touch, all this is temporary. It's things we cannot see that are the real things. And just to, you know, for all you, I hope this is helping some, encouraging some believers in the Lord. If you're saved already, great. If you're not, know that I'm praying for you every night. You can't stop me from praying for you, and I hope to see you up in heaven. But just in regards to, I wrote some stuff down I wanted to share with you. Just some food for thought. You know, people, there's things in this world that people cannot see, but they believe in. So why don't you believe that there's a God, a creator? You think this all happened just because, boom, just randomly, you know, or evolution, or we came from apes or whatever else, frogs, whatever other crazy stories are out there? No. And just some things, I just want you to think about this. What are some things in this earth that we cannot see, but we know to be true? I'm going to name some. Gravity. How do we know that? Well, are you going to walk up the Empire State Building and jump off and think you're going to be okay? No. You know better. You know you will die, right? The air. Can you see it? No. But do you know it's there? Yes. How do you know it's there? Because the effects of it. You see leaves blowing, you see the branches swaying, you see a bird up in the sky with its wings extended, and it's just cruising. It's not doing anything. It's just up in the air. Radio waves. How do you think your microwave works? How do you think your Bluetooth works? How do you think cell phones work, or regular phones? Atoms and particles. Everything is made out of atoms and particles. We're made out of things we can't see. We can't see them, but we know it's there. Why? Because we can see all of this and we can touch it. Emotions. Can you see an emotion? Well, I guess if you're angry in your face or showing it, but what's going on in here, or the chemicals mixing in your mind to make you feel like that, can you see it? Absolutely not. But do you know it's there? Yes. Why? Because you can feel it. Or you maybe experience the rage of someone else. You can't see their rage, I mean, ongoing in their body, but you see the effects of it. Universe and outer space. Has anyone ever gone up there? I haven't. And I'm sure you haven't either, unless you're a billionaire or something. But we're told that there's a universe and a space, and we believe that. Why? Because we go to the library and see pictures. I mean, you're believing something a man is telling you. And I'm not saying that there's no outer space. Don't confuse what I'm telling you. I'm just saying that there's things you choose to believe in this earth, that you cannot see, you can't physically touch, you can't see what's really going on, but you know that it exists. That's all I'm saying. Before I close, just want to share a few things with you. These are just Bible verses, and it's let's see here. It's about things you can and cannot see. And I hope this helps you, especially the people who don't believe yet. Know that there is a God, your Father, that created you. In the Bible it says He created you and loved you. He knitted you in your mother's womb. He knew you before you were even alive. He loved you. He chose you. He picked you to be here at this moment in time. The time we're living right now, like me, I was born in 1980. That was when He wanted me to live here for a purpose. And I hope I fulfill that purpose. I hope I'm not dumb enough to be like, oh, no, Lord, I don't want to do that. Because I don't run my life. He runs my life. I'm just obedient. I want you to turn to 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 18. It says, well, let me start reading from 16, okay? 16 through 18. It says, therefore, we do not lose heart, though outwardly we are wasting away, and aren't we? We're all dying, right? I mean, that's why we're on this earth. We were born and then we die. We're wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. Now, this is a verse for believers, okay? This is what's going on with us if you believe in the Lord. For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. So fix our eyes on what... No, I'm sorry. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. For what is seen is temporary, and what is unseen is eternal. What does that tell me? A lot of things. That tells me that it says the unseen is eternal. Who do we not see right now that we've heard of? God. He is eternal. We can't see Him, but He's up there somewhere. Other things to me that the Bible talks about. You know, we live in a broken earth, but He's going to renew. He's going to bring a new heaven down. And He's going to renew this earth. Don't you know that the reason that there's earthquakes and all this stuff going on, that's the earth moaning and groaning like a woman in labor. Does a woman in labor stay in labor forever? No, she has her baby. Finally, the baby is going to be born, and that's going to be it. That's going to be the end of the line. No more time. We got to get it right with the Lord. That's it. That's where it stops, and we're either saved or not saved at that moment in time. Now let's go to 2 Corinthians 5:7. It says, we live by faith and not by sight. We are confident, I say, and would prefer to be away from the body and at home with the Lord. So we make it our goal to please Him, whether we are at home in the body or away from it. Let me stop right there. I only wanted to read verse 7. It says, we live by faith and not by sight. If you want to live, you need to have faith. If you want to die, look what's going on around you. If you don't have faith, that means you're going to die. That's what that means to me. We don't live by the things we see here. We live by faith, which to me that's also hope, because we're hoping, or we have faith. We know that there's something so much better out there for us that we're going to get to experience one day, so much more meaningful. Now let's see. I want to go to Hebrews 11:1 and 11:13. 11:1 says, now faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. Now faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. I'm certain. I'm certain in my heart. I know that my heart, you know what your conscience is? That's a direct line between you and the Lord. That's when you're doing something bad and you hear that little voice telling you, no, no, go home, or don't do that, stop doing that. That's the Lord. That's not your conscience. That's your personal and direct line that the Lord has built into you. So Hebrews 11:1, it says, by faith Abraham, even though he was past age and Sarah herself was barren, meaning she couldn't have children, was enabled to become a father because he considered him faithful who had made the promise. So it means Abraham, even though Abraham and Sarah were old and were past the age of childbearing, were allowed to become parents. Abraham was allowed to become a father because he considered God faithful. Abraham had faith in the Lord that the Lord was faithful, therefore it happened. It's just a circle. It's all connected. And now finally Romans chapter 8, verse 24. It says, for in this hope we were saved, but hope that is seen is no hope at all. Who hopes for what they already have? But if we hope for what we do not yet have, we wait for it patiently. What does that mean? That we wait for God. I wait for Him. I don't mind. I know He's going to come back soon and it's going to be awesome. I love the Lord. I'm so glad He saved me, and this is going to sound corny, but you know, there's going to be a big party in heaven when He comes for His children. The Bible says He's going to gather them up from the four corners of the earth in a twinkle of an eye. First, He's going to take those that have died. He's going to take up their bodies. They're already up there, but so you understand, we're going to get new bodies. So our physical bodies are going to be taken up with Him. He's going to take the bodies out of the graves, and they're going to become united with their spirit, and they're going to have a new body, just like Jesus when He was resurrected from the dead. And then those still living here that believe in Him, that are still alive and taking, are going to be taken up next, and they're going to meet up in the air in their new bodies. So basically it's going to be a spiritual transformation that's going to change, and that's going to be an awesome day. He says He's going to wipe away our tears, the things of old, what's going on here on earth, all the aches, all the pains, suffering, sin. There will be no more of that in heaven. I just thank my God for that, because I can tell you right now that being in pain every night, not being able to sleep, not being able to, walk for, but a certain distance, and then you have to sit, having a back spasm that lasts 2 months, being on medication. I used to not take medication that much, only when I needed it, but now it's constant pain medication, nothing crazy, but just to help me get through the day. Never thought I would end up like this, but I don't dwell on that. I know I'm not going to be like this forever, and I thank the Lord for my new body. I can't wait to receive it in Jesus' name. So that's my testimony for all of you. I hope you enjoyed it and you got something out of it. I love you guys. You guys have a blessed rest of your afternoon, your evening, life. For those of you who have not repented yet, know that the hour is near, that our Lord is coming back. I pray that you repent and that you give your life to Him, that you become born again, because it says that when we give our lives to Christ, we become a new creature. He wipes away all our sins. Don't let the devil or anyone ever tell you, oh, well, you've done this, this, and that. You can't be a child of the Lord. Yes, you can. That's why Jesus died for you. He took away all your sins. He made you new because he loved you that much. He got tortured. He died. He went to hell because he knew that was something you could not physically handle yourself. He didn't want you to. You have that choice. Think of it like this. It's like voting for a president, right? If you don't vote, then don't complain later on about the consequences. But, you know, the Lord, that's who you want to vote for. And Satan, of course, either wants you to vote for the wrong guy, which is the devil and living for the earth, or not vote at all. So later on you can go to hell anyway. So just think about it. Okay? I really pray for all of you who are not saved, and know that when you become saved, when you give your life to the Lord, that heaven is rejoicing and shouting for joy, because that's how much your Father loves you. In Jesus' mighty name, amen.